Right to the finish, Donald Trump crisscrossing the swing state of Florida as the head of the GOP defends the party's nominee. Team Trump now unveiling a new strategy to turn things around. We are live in Washington.
And soldier shakedown, outrage boiling over this morning after thousands of veterans who risked their lives on the front lines are ordered to pay back their bonuses. The investigation that's now being launched.
And how about this for you? Patriotism for Police, a ceremony to honor boys and women in blue at a high school football game. So why are some saying that this is offensive? Fox and Friends First starts right now.
Hope you all had a great weekend. I'm Heather Nauert, and you are watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. Great to be back with you.
Nice to have you with us as always. And happy Monday to everyone at home. I'm Heather Childers. Thank you for starting your day and your week with us. And it is a fight to the finish. Can you believe it? 15 days until Election Day. And Donald Trump turning his focus to Florida, where early voting kicks off just hours from now.
Kristen Fisher is live for us in Washington with Team Trump's new strategy to try to turn around that race. Christy, good morning.
Good morning, ladies. Well, Florida, as we all know, is a must-win state for Donald Trump, which is why just 15 days before Election Day, he's going all out in the state that he calls his second home. Today, Trump will hit 3 cities in Florida. He'll start the day in Palm Beach and end it with 2 big rallies in St. Augustine and Tampa. Now, part of the reason he's doing this now is because early voting starts today in Florida. Now, 1 million people have already voted by mail, according to state election officials, and Republicans are leading in ballot returns by 1.8 percentage points. So that's good news for Trump and other down ballot Republicans. But the bad news is the latest national polls show him trailing Clinton by a large margin. At a rally yesterday in Naples, though, Trump said the polls are wrong, the media is wrong, and the election is rigged. Even Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, conceded yesterday across the Sunday shows that they're behind. But she also said they're not giving up. They still think they can win this. And here's how.
What can turn around in these next 2 weeks? Our path is Florida, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina. You add Nevada there, you protect Arizona and Georgia. You look at New Hampshire and Maine too, where the congressional districts there are split in the way they award their electoral votes. And then we're also going to continue to visit Colorado, Virginia, Pennsylvania.
Now, one poll that is somewhat encouraging for the Trump campaign is this one from CBS News. It shows Trump well within the margin of error in Florida. He's at 43%, Clinton is at 46%, Gary Johnson's at 3%, and Jill Stein is at 2%. So the Trump campaign believes that they have a real chance at winning Florida, and they absolutely have to if they want to win 2 weeks from tomorrow. Heather and Heather, 2 Heathers today. Now that we're this close out, I can't even believe it's almost over.
I know, 15 days away.
I don't know what we'll do when it is over.
Kristen, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks.
Well, Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus, meantime, is defending his party's nominee, vowing a, quote, reasonable response when it comes to election results.
I don't, but what I think the media is missing here is that to ask a candidate 3 weeks before the election if they lose, are they going to concede, asking for a concession speech, no one does that. And I think if it's a close election, look, if you lose by 200 votes in Florida, are you going to concede on election night? If losing by 100 votes is one thing, losing by 100,000 is a different thing. I think we can be reasonable on this issue. If you look at Hillary Clinton, what she's got away with on this email scandal, when you have General Cartwright going to potentially prison for doing 1/10 of her. Listen, but I'm trying to put you in the mind of a person who's running for president and sees this unbelievable world around him, and then you do hear about fraud at the ballot box, and you say, you know what, I'm going to reserve all options.
Well, the Clinton camp continues to deny the election is rigged, but as early voting started in Illinois, some voters reported that their vote for a Republican candidate was transformed into votes for Democrats.
Well, WikiLeaks releasing more John Podesta emails overnight. It is the 16th batch, and it shows that Clinton aides tried to force Vice President Joe Biden to support Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee. Now, last September, they were discussing the nomination of the now FDA Commissioner, Dr. Robert Califf. When asked If the campaign wanted to weigh in, Clinton's press secretary Brian Fallon wrote this, quote, "As we consider fights that fit into the larger themes that we are trying to promote, this seems like a good fight to have. Plus, the VP would be in a box of having to support this nominee." Well, our Chris Wallace putting campaign chair Robbie Mook in the hot seat on Fox News Sunday over the constant leaks. Listen.
The Trump tax returns were stolen as well when they were mailed to the New York Times. You guys didn't object to that. In fact, you jumped all over them.
Well, we don't know where those tax returns come from.
Well, they weren't. They were clearly stolen.
We don't know, and you'd have to work with the New York Times on that.
Had given them?
I don't know. I don't know how they got to the New York Times.
I guess what I'm saying is if we're looking at the fruits of that theft, and I will call it a theft, it's fair to look at the fruits of your theft.
I think what's particularly disturbing in this situation is that the intelligence community has now confirmed that John Podesta's emails and the DNC emails were stolen by the Russians.
I know about the Russian connection. I'm talking about the $12 million from the King of Morocco and the fact that this continues to sort of show the line between private and public and Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation.
I think we got to look at what decisions were made. There was a meeting in Morocco. Secretary Clinton decided not to go, focus on her campaign here.
As for Joe Biden and that information that came out from the WikiLeaks dump, he is campaigning for Hillary Clinton today in Ohio.
Well, this is a troubling story. Soldiers are stunned and outrage is boiling over after thousands are ordered to pay back bonuses a decade after risking their lives on the front lines. Kelly Wright here now with a brand new investigation in how veterans are fighting back. Good morning, Kelly.
Heather, good morning to you as well. You said it best. Troubling is how you would describe this story. Veterans who are being told to pay back these bonuses are not happy. They're being asked to pay thousands of dollars back after serving on battlefields or duty stations in the Middle East. Some find the Pentagon's demand troubling and distasteful, and some members of Congress are getting involved. The Pentagon's order affects nearly 10,000 soldiers in California. An audit revealed the California Guard issued too much bonus money to some of its members, many of them receiving an average of $15,000. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California is urging the Pentagon to waive the demands for repayment, issuing this statement: "We are the ones who owe a debt for the great sacrifice our heroes have made, some of whom have made the ultimate sacrifice." And some military veterans and active duty soldiers are expressing their concerns about paying back those bonuses.
If a promise is made, it should be kept. It certainly hurts the credibility going forward if we can't depend on the promises that were made to us when we volunteered to put our life on the line.
It also could discourage people from joining the military, and that hurts, especially when you have an all-volunteer army.
The California National Guard says it does not have the authority to unilaterally waive these bonus debts, but it says it will welcome any law passed by Congress to waive the debts, and apparently that's what Congress is going to have to do. Back to you, Heather.
That is certainly an unreal story, isn't it?
Do not like hearing about our vets being mistreated. And anyway,
Kelly,
thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Well, to a Fox News alert right now, the battle raging on as Iraqi forces now come within 5 miles of pushing ISIS out of Mosul. Kurdish forces fighting through bombs, booby traps, and also sniper fire as they close in on those jihadists and free villages one by one from the grasps of terror. Some terrorists using families as human shields. At least 51 ISIS terrorists have been killed since that mission launched a week ago.
An intense manhunt underway right now after an armed and dangerous suspect opens fire on 2 officers with an AK-47. Investigators later finding 2 people believed to be the suspect's relatives dead in a nearby home. Police say the officers were responding to a call of shots fired when Michael Vance started shooting, hitting them both. Vance and a second suspect then took off in their police car, drove to a trailer park, and then carjacked and shot another woman. Police later catching up with that second suspect. Both officers and the woman are expected to be okay.
Well, 13 people are dead this morning and more than 30 others hurt after a casino tour bus smashes into the back of a big rig, leaving a mangled metal mess. Crews forced to use a crane and pull survivors out of shattered windows. This happening near Palm Springs, California. The sheer force of it sending that bus 15 feet inside that big rig Police say the bus was speeding and the driver may have had some sort of a medical incident. The NTSB is now joining the investigation today as authorities search for a data recorder and work to identify those victims. What a tragedy.
Well, major security to tell you about, or security scare, we should say, at a top airline overnight. An American Airlines flight was grounded in Philadelphia for hours after a man and his daughter got on the plane somehow through an unlocked door before boarding even started. The breach causing a holdup for hundreds of passengers who had to wait for another plane. It's still not clear why that door was open. The airline says that the pair did not speak English and that they were just confused.
I don't know how they got through that door. Oh, yeah. Weird, huh? Okay, to a Fox Business alert right now. A Senate panel is now launching an investigation into that massive deal. Did you hear about this one? It's between AT&T and Time Warner.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, is here to break it all down for us and the concerns. Good morning, Cheryl.
Yeah, good morning, ladies. Well, if approved, it would be one of the biggest media and technology mergers in history. Saturday night, AT&T announced it had reached a deal to buy Time Warner for $85.4 billion. But this planned combination already facing political opposition. On Sunday, top members from the Senate's antitrust subcommittee said they plan to closely examine the deal because it would, quote, potentially raise significant antitrust issues. On the campaign trail, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump also weighed in.
They're trying desperately to suppress my vote and the voice of the American people. As an example of the power structure I'm fighting, AT&T is buying Time Warner and thus CNN, a deal we will not approve in my administration because it's too much concentration of power in the hands of too few.
Well, the industry has been consolidating for some time. Last year, AT&T bought DirecTV. That's the nation's largest satellite television provider. Comcast bought NBC Universal back in 2011, and Charter Communications bought Time Warner Cable. Now, competitors, Congress, Wall Street analysts, shareholders, all are going to have something to say about it. And remember, guys, it took 13 months for regulators to approve the Comcast NBC Universal takeover. So would AT&T combining with Time Warner hurt consumers? Well, one of the hurdles for regulators will be a phone company who controls broadband and wireless networks, also controlling the content. Look at these names. Time Warner owns News Network CNN, premium entertainment companies like HBO, Warner Brothers, the film studio, and TNT, which is the home of NBA basketball. So the DOJ, the FCC, Congress, they're all going to be weighing in. Back to you guys.
See what happens with that today.
Yeah, certainly a lot to think about. Cheryl, thank you.
Well, the time now is 11 minutes after the top of the hour, and adoption nightmare horror as a foster mother finds out that her child refugee is actually a suspected jihadi in his 20s.
And Donald Trump's campaign refusing to call it quits as the Republican nominee unveils his 100-day agenda.
The fact is that this race is not over. Many in the media want to say it's over. For the 12th time, they're counting Donald Trump out.
So can they turn it around to fair and balanced debate? That's coming up next.
The fact is that this race is not over. Many in the media want to say it's over. For the 12th time, they're counting Donald Trump out. The fact that it's been 3 points, 4 points, 6 points is what can turn around in these next 2 weeks. We're not giving up. We know we can win this, and we are certainly not acceding to the same chattering class that's been wrong about Donald Trump for about a year and a half.
A fight to the finish. You heard it there, just 15 days until the election. And Team Trump says this race, is far from over despite some falling poll numbers. So can they turn it around? Here to weigh in, GOP strategist Noel Nickfor and Democratic strategist Atima Omar. Thank you both for joining us early this morning.
Thanks.
Noel, I'll start with you. What do you think? Still time to turn it around? 15 days left.
Well, you know, you can run, but you can't hide from these poll numbers. Although, you know, it looks like it could be dim, you never know, because after all, we are dealing with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has really shocked us. As a GOP strategist and fundraiser, I have never seen anything like the movement of Donald Trump. And that's exactly what he is a movement. And I would also look at, you know, at Florida and Ohio. Mm-hmm. He has maintained at different points, he has maintain leads there. And that's not to say that he can't pick it up in the last 2 weeks and with the margin of error the way it is and capture that lead again.
Yeah, we were just listening to Kristen Fisher. She was reporting specifically about Florida at the end of her report there and said that it is still within the margin of error there. Let's take a look at this, the Real Clear Politics average of all the polls. Clinton is at 47.9% right now, with Trump coming in at 42%. So, Tima, what do you think in terms of this? Is Hillary Clinton going to take off from here?
Yeah, I think pretty much that she is. I mean, no candidate with Trump's polling numbers nationally has rebounded in modern presidential politics and polling. You know, she has doubled her lead with college-educated women, a group that Romney won by 6% in 12. And she has actually increased her lead with non-college educated women, a group that had sort of rallied to Trump even after the tapes. And this is polling that I've seen coming out with the ABC tracking poll that's kind of post the debate, post these tapes, post these accusers. So he's even losing amongst folks that he's had traditionally. The problem is he's not trying to expand his electorate. He did well in the primary. What he's doing now worked well during the primary, is not working well in the general when he has to convince independents and even the Republican Party, which is fleeing him in a lot of states. You've got Republican leaders who don't want to endorse him. You got Paul Ryan who doesn't want to campaign for him, which would normally be the case.
Well, let's move on to this next topic, though. There are some new leaked emails that reveal the campaign plan specifically to court African American voters. And let's take a look at this first email that was released. This is from Amanda Rentieri, and she emailed this to some Clinton staff members saying, is everyone comfortable with her saying, yo mama? And then in return, Maya Harris emails this back, and these are both quotes. She says, no, please, let's revise. So, Tima, does that offend you that they were even considering using that comment?
No, I mean, as an African-American voter, and as someone who's been involved in the African-American community, you know, and someone who's also been, like, on campaigns, there's always ideas batted around about how to make somebody relatable. They obviously thought not to use it, which I thought would have been a smart move on their part. I think that the important thing to remember is that Clinton's doing well because her issues as it regards addressing the concerns of African Americans are pretty much right on point when it comes to criminal justice reform, when it comes to addressing law enforcement, police brutality, the economy. You know, she's in the 90s with African Americans, which even Republicans generally most times in this election are at about, you know, 80, even maybe 70% with African Americans. But she's doing so well because she's speaking right to the issues that concern them.
Noelle, you get the last word here quickly.
Seriously, I could not believe that anybody not only would email that around that she should use yo mama phrase, the fact that they would think this is a way to relate to African Americans to get their vote is preposterous. I think this was the silliest thing. Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't use it, but gosh.
Well, I have to leave it there. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Appreciate your comments. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
It is now 20 minutes after the hour. One of Clinton's biggest allies donating a stunning amount to the wife of an FBI official. The campaign contributions now being called into question. And patriotism for police, a ceremony to honor our men and women in blue at a high school football game. Why some are saying it's offensive. We'll be right back. 24 minutes after the hour, a UK mother horrified when she finds out that the 12-year-old child she's fostering is actually a 21-year-old trained jihadi terrorist. The guy was from Afghanistan. His name is Jamal. You can see a picture of him right there. And the family first sounded the alarm when his siblings noticed that he was really fit for his age and then he was also able to shoot a gun. He also threatened to kill his foster parents and had Taliban material on his cell phone. It's now feared that more terrorists could be posing as children to get into the UK from refugee camps.
And you were saying this is very common.
Yeah, very common in Europe right now.
Scary. Well, a ceremony to honor our men in uniform following nationwide national anthem protests causing some massive controversy. Well, a roaring crowd greeting police, military members, and first responders before a New Jersey high school football game. But here's the thing. The NAACP and the ACLU says that it sends a, quote, frightening message against freedom of speech. However, the local police chief says it's one thing to stand for social justice and another to sit during the anthem. So what do you think? Was this police ceremony patriotic or was it offensive? Let's keep talking about it on our Facebook page right after the show. Hashtag keep talking.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be talking about that one. That is for sure. Well, let's talk about some weather right now. We are looking at heavy rain for parts of the U.S. as cooler temperatures start to move in.
It's about that time. Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean tracking all of it for us in the Weather Center.
Hi, JD.
Good morning, ladies. Yeah, we even saw a little bit of snow across upstate New York. Look at 52 here in New York, 55 in Cleveland, 40 in Minneapolis, 33 in Rapid City. Warm across the southern U.S. We're watching the potential for showery weather as a weak system pushes across the northeast. Not a big deal here. And then a bigger deal across the northwest as a couple of systems move in. The good news is northern and central California will get some rainfall out of this. The bad news is the northwest is going to get pounded with more heavy rain and wind. And this is the time of year we start to see these winter storms move in from the Pacific. So anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of heavy rain, and then the higher elevations will get some snow. Forecast wind gusts, in some cases we could get 30, 40, even 50 mile per hour winds as the storm moves mostly offshore towards Canada. But again, we're going to get the worst of it across the Canadian region, but the winds and the rain and some of that snow will make its way into the West Coast. Your highs today, 75 in Los Angeles, 92 in Phoenix, 15 to 20 degrees above average across the southern U.S., and then 10 to 15 degrees below average across the Northeast. Heather, back to you.
Ooh, we'll see you on Fox and
about
Friends.
snow.
Yes, Janice, thanks.
Yes, ma'am, you got
Thank
it.
you.
Well, it is now 27 minutes after the hour. Phoning it in, are the Democrats already declaring victory?
They've been in charge of Congress now for the last 6 years, basically. And what have they gotten done?
President Obama changing his tune on the trail, attacking Republican senators. But isn't it a little too soon for that?
Good morning. It is Monday, October the 24th, 15 days until that election, and it's a fight to the finish. Donald Trump crisscrossing the swing state of Florida today as Hillary heads to New Hampshire, both campaigns conceding nothing in the final weeks. We'll go live to Washington with the latest.
And soldier shakedown, outrage boiling over after thousands of veterans who risked their lives on the front lines are ordered to pay back their bonuses. The investigation now being launched.
And terrifying moments on a police ride-along when that police car comes under attack. The whole thing caught on camera. We'll explain. Fox and Friends First continues right now.
And good morning to you. You are watching Fox and Friends First. I'm Heather Childers. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be with you. I'm Heather Nauert, and it is now 1/2 the hour. Let's talk some politics right now. It is a fight to the finish. Just 15 days until the election, and Donald Trump turns his focus to Florida, where early voting kicks off just hours from now.
Kristen Fisher joins us now live in Washington with Team Trump's new strategy to turn this race around. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, ladies. Well, Donald Trump isn't used to being an underdog, yet that's where he finds himself just 15 days before Election Day. He knows if he wants to win, he has to win Florida. And the latest polls there show a very competitive race in that state. According to CBS News, Clinton is at 46%, Trump is at 43%, Gary Johnson's at 3%, while Jill Stein is at 2%. Now, in just a few hours, early voting will kick off in the Sunshine State. But keep in mind, 1 million people have already voted by mail, according to state election officials, and Republicans are leading in ballot returns by 1.8%. So that's great news for Trump and other down-ballot Republicans. Now, Trump hasn't said too much on the campaign trail about other Republicans running for election, but yesterday at a rally in Naples, he changed his tune a bit and made this rather unexpected push for down-ballot Republicans.
But you have to get out and vote, and that includes helping me re-elect Republicans all over the place. I hope they help me, too. Be nice if they help us, too, right?
Now, Trump's in the middle of a 3-day swing through Florida. Today, he'll hit 3 cities. He'll start the day in Palm Beach and end it with 2 big rallies in St. Augustine and Tampa. Today, or actually yesterday, Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, she hit the Sunday shows and she conceded that they're behind, but she also said they're not giving up, and she says they still think that they can win this. Heather? And Heather?
Within the margin of error.
Kristen, thank you.
It is.
Thank you, Kristen. Well, Democrats, meantime, possibly jumping the gun and calling it a day on the race for the White House. Both Hillary Clinton and President Obama now turning their focus to attacking Republican Senate races in a bid to take back the majority.
Now, the excuse they're using for why they should be elected is, well, maybe we did support Trump and now we're being kind of quiet about it, but you should vote Republican anyway because we'll check Hillary's power. They've been in charge of Congress now for the last 6 years, basically. And what have they gotten done?
Hillary Clinton on the trail in New Hampshire today, while Vice President Joe Biden makes his case in Ohio. President Obama also campaigning for Clinton today. He's in D.C.
And this story is a real outrage. Soldiers stunned. There is outrage that is boiling over this morning after thousands of veterans are ordered to pay back bonuses a decade after many of them risked their lives on the front lines. Kelly Wright is here now with a brand new investigation and how veterans are now fighting back. Kelly, what happened?
Well, Heather, this is a very disturbing development for a lot of veterans who served in the California National Guard. And here's what happened. They received bonuses when they enlisted, and some are critical of the Pentagon, asking them to essentially now make another sacrifice in paying back that money, as much as $15,000 or more.
I think they took the bonus, honestly believing that that's what they were authorized. To be perfectly honest, I think the people that did it, that promised them the bonus, should be the ones paying it back.
Well, the bonuses for soldiers who volunteered their services were paid the money up front. The bonus was meant for high-demand assignments needed in the Guard, usually like combat assignments. A recent audit shows some improper payments were discovered, meaning that it could have gone to the wrong people. However, in response, the Pentagon is demanding that nearly 10,000 veterans pay that money back. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy of California is none too happy about it. He's now urging the Pentagon to waive the demands for repayment, releasing this statement saying, in part, we are the ones who owe a debt for the great sacrifice our heroes have made, some of whom have made the ultimate sacrifice. The California National Guard says it does not have the authority to unilaterally waive these bonus debts. And one retired military member sums it up like this, Heather. He says, if a promise is made, it should be kept, particularly for men and women who volunteer to put their life on the line.
Gosh, and an average of $15,000 per family. That is something else. Kelly, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And our best to the family of Major General Tom Greer, who was a member of the Army's elite Delta Force, who lost his battle with cancer.
Goodness, thank you.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, now some collateral damage of the WikiLeaks document dump. So why is he changing the social media site's censorship policy?
Comes down to who's qualified and what works best for all people.
Well, voters in the critical swing state of Florida headed to the polls this morning, some of them to cast their early ballots. We'll go live to the Sunshine State.
And up in smoke, the truck stuffed with edible marijuana burning up in flames in the middle of a highway.
They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum.
Big yellow taxi from the Counting Crows. Lots of taxis here in New York City as everyone begins to wake up and begin a brand new day and a brand new week. Thank you for joining us. We have this to tell you about right now, though. A manhunt. It is intensifying after a ride-along explodes into gunfire and a car chase. You can see sparks from the bullets as the California officer and a civilian on a ride-along dodged out of the way. Neither were hit, but the passenger did get cut with glass. A bullet hole now piercing the patrol car's front windshield and the back windshield. Look at that, completely shattered. And there's this, a truck stuffed with edible marijuana candy up in flames, bursting into flames in the middle of a busy bridge. The driver forced to watch as $50,000 worth of that edible marijuana goes up in flames. It ignited while crossing the Delaware Memorial Bridge. Drivers swerving all around the billowing clouds of smoke as it burned for more than 3 hours. Heather?
All right. Well, outrage is boiling over this morning after Michael Moore calls nearly half of Americans legal terrorists. The liberal filmmaker referring to Donald Trump supporters in Rolling Stone magazine saying, quote, "I want them to think about the damage that they could do by being a legal terrorist on November the 8th. Well, despite that rhetoric, he has still predicted that Donald Trump will win and become the next president of the United States. Facebook now changing its censorship policy days after the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is exposed in Hillary Clinton's WikiLeaks scandal. In an email sent to employees, he says that the site can no longer censor content related to Donald Trump just because some other users may not agree with Trump's policies. Well, Facebook is already under fire for bearing conservative content.
A lot of social media sites accused of doing that.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, a major airline getting the go-ahead to weigh passengers before flights. Hawaiian Airlines winning a legal battle after being accused of fat shaming.
Well, people filed discrimination complaints because the airline only required weight-ins on flights to the American Samoas. That area has an above-average obesity rate. Well, the airline arguing that distributing weight evenly prevents possible crashes. I guess it depends on the size of the airplane. If it's a tiny airplane, then weight is a factor because often they'll move around luggage to compensate. But if it's a big plane,
I don't know. I think that matters if it's a large plane or a small plane. But, you know, don't want to offend people or make them feel like they're being shamed because of their weight.
Certainly. But I think safety comes first, too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, the time now is about 8 minutes until the top of the hour. And avoiding an impound. What happens when a man tries to stop his car from being towed and drives off the back of a tow truck?
Of course. Why not?
Yeah, just as ugly as it sounds.
Okay, Justin Bieber, he's acting like my 5-year-old kid once again. He's refusing to say he's sorry after he throws another epic tantrum. What made the singer storm off stage mid-concert this time? 2 minutes before the hour, before you leave the house this morning, here's a look at what's happening today. The NTSB is set to arrive at the scene of that horrific bus crash that killed 13 people and then injured dozens of others on a casino tour in California. Authorities are now looking for the data recorder as they work to identify the victims. It is sentencing day for the former Democrat Attorney General of Pennsylvania. Kathleen Kane is asking for probation or house arrest instead of jail time. She was convicted of leaking information about a grand jury probe to embarrass the prosecutor. And in Florida now, Donald Trump crisscrossing that battleground state today, holding several rallies as early voting is set to kick off in the state at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be watching it.
Exercise your right. Well, now it is time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Up first, the good, maybe? I don't know. Girl Scout cookies for breakfast. Thin Mints and Samoas, they're being turned into cereal by General Mills, and both will be on store shelves in January. Let us know what you think about that. And the bad, how far this man went to avoid his car being impounded. He drove off the back of a tow truck, throwing his car into reverse, but you can see the plan backfired, certainly, and he's left dangling above the road.
Kind of like that.
And finally, the ugly, Justin Bieber storming off stage after getting mad at fans for screaming.
When you're screaming during these breaks, you gotta stop.
Justin Bieber telling the UK crowd that he likes to talk with them in between songs, and if they scream, they can't hear him. He did eventually finish that concert.
Oh,
Thank goodness he finished it, though.
They were just excited. Great to be with you today, Heather.
Yeah, nice to be here with you, too. Fox and Friends starts now. Bye-bye.
Good morning to you. It is Monday, October 24th, 2016. I'm Abby Huntsman, and Donald Trump making a rare Sunday night appearance in the final days of the 2016 race.
It's rigged. It's broken. It's corrupt. They want me to take that back. Let me tell you, folks, it's a rigged system. And we are going to drain the swamp of corruption in Washington, D.C.
We are live on the campaign trail this morning.
Meanwhile, a harsh warning from Hillary Clinton's campaign. Don't you dare read our WikiLeaks email because they're stolen.
The Trump tax returns were stolen as well when they were mailed to the New York Times. You guys didn't object to that. In fact, you jumped all over.
Well, we don't know where those tax returns come from.
Well, they weren't. They were clearly stolen.
Got him. Double standard? You be the judge.
All right, and Eli Manning calls an audible, kinda.
He coming to sideline, ball.
Peyton says Omaha. Eli says Trump. Yeah, that play is build a wall. Get it? Keep this in mind. It's Monday. You're up. I'm glad. You're not dressed yet. I'm disappointed. And your mornings are better with friends. How great is that?
That was good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It really does sound like they're saying Trump.
But you know
they might just be.
And just so you know, he's not playing politics because him and his brother Peyton gave money to Jeb Bush. Well, they didn't give money to Trump.
Right. He has denied that that's what he was saying. Yeah. Keep in mind, they were in England, so maybe it's the accent we're picking up.
What do they speak over there?
I don't know.
It would be English.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. We report. You guys decide. So why don't you guys let us know? What are you?
Right.
Does sound like Trump. Just saying. All right. Meanwhile.
Yeah, we start with the race for the White House this morning, and Donald Trump going all out in Florida, holding a rare evening rally, and as his campaign gears up for the home stretch with just 15 days until this election.
Fox News senior national correspondent John Roberts, live from St. Augustine, where Trump will be later today. Hey, John, no one will say that Donald Trump is mailing it in the final weeks. He's been busier than ever.
Yeah, no question about that. Good morning to you, Brian, Abby, and Steve. You know, Donald Trump used to take Sundays as a down day. He used to have meetings. He would spend it out in Bedminster. There is no room for that now. There is a new ABC tracking poll that has got Hillary Clinton up by 12 points, 50-38, though an Investors Business Daily poll has got Trump up by 2 points, 43-41. Here in Florida, Hillary Clinton leads by 4 points, though that gap does seem to be narrowing just a little bit. Donald Trump yesterday evening in Naples, Florida, with a big rally, again insisting that the entire political system and this election is rigged against him, and hitting Hillary Clinton for the latest WikiLeaks revelation that she tried to cut a $12 million deal with the King of Morocco. Here's Trump from yesterday.
WikiLeaks emails show Hillary was trying to get $12 million from the King of Morocco in yet another pay-for-play scheme. My goal is to keep foreign money out of American politics. Hillary Clinton's goal is to put the Oval Office up for sale to whatever country offers the highest price.
So Donald Trump staying in the Sunshine State today. 2 rallies you mentioned here in St. Augustine, that's St. Johns County. Mitt Romney won with 68% of the vote back in 2012. So really the task for Donald Trump here is to just run up the vote total. Then he heads over to Hillsborough County, which Barack Obama won in 2012 with 53% of the vote for a big rally in Tampa. Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, acknowledged yesterday that the campaign is down, but far from out. Here's what she said.
We are behind. She has some advantages, like $66 million in ad buys just in the month of September. We feel that with Hillary Clinton under 50% in some of these places, even though she has run a very traditional and expensive campaign, that we have a shot of getting those undecided voters that somehow have said, I know who Hillary Clinton is. I don't want to vote for her. I don't much trust her like her. We need to bring them aboard over the next couple of weeks.
Conway insisting that despite what many people in the media are saying, this race is far from over. Abby, Brian, Steve, by the way, St. Augustine is famous for what?
Ooh. Well, the Don Cesar is over there, isn't it? We actually did a big show there once.
That's St. Peter's. That's St. Petersburg.
Oh, sorry. John, you're going to have to tell us.
Oldest continuously occupied city in America, founded in 1565.
Oh.
Wow.
There you go.
Beautiful place, too.
Today is occupied by John Roberts. All right.
All right, John.
Thank you, John.
What was that?
What did he say?
Can you open his mic?
Can we open up his mic again?
John, what were you saying?
What happened, John?
I said it also occupied by a group of people who are running around the square clapping and chanting. We'll have to go figure out what that's all about because it's only 6:05.
Oh, yeah, report back to us when you figure that out.
Yeah, they might have a Bill Clinton T-shirt on. I've seen that on TV.
Is there a British soccer game on? I'm not sure they do.
Thank you, John.
All right, speaking of rigged, thanks to WikiLeaks, we have just seen exactly how John Podesta and company over in the Clinton camp were going to. They put out a multi-page document in detail showing exactly how to manufacture detailed and desired data by oversampling. If you oversample certain demographics, then you wind up with better results for you.
Oh, that's right. So this is the email that came in. This is from Tom Matzi, the Democratic consultant. Here's what it says. Hey, when can we meet? I want to get your Atlas folks to recommend oversamples for our polling before we start in February by market regions, etc. I want to get this all compiled into one set of recommendations so we can maximize what we get out of our media polling.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, people are saying, okay, why are the polls the way they are? Why are they sampled the way they where they appear to be? And maybe they say that the Democrats want to make everyone feel like the die has been cast. If you look at the ABC poll and you believe what the ABC poll says today, it is a 12-point advantage for Hillary Clinton. Now somebody might be going, I'm not even going to vote. My guy's not going to have a chance.
Right.
I'm not going to show up.
Sure, but when you look at the ABC poll, where it's 12 points ahead for Hillary Clinton, if you look in the fine print, they asked 9% more Democrats. So, surely there is an edge in registration for Democrats. But what they're talking about is the way you manipulate the data. For instance, this thing goes on to say, in Arizona, oversampling of Hispanics and Native Americans is highly recommended. In Florida, make sure the sample's not too old, because apparently they feel they vote Republican, has enough African American and Hispanic voters, and on independents when it comes to the cities of Tampa and Orlando, those are better persuasion targets than North or South Florida. So include Tampa or Orlando first. So if you essentially bake the cake that way, you're going to wind up with better
numbers. And you wonder why they say that her campaign is calculated. You wonder where that comes from.
Everything you read is it's over. They're focusing on winning big and taking back the Senate. But where upon further review, people who don't have a horse in the race, maybe like a David Axelrod, go, it's not over. In fact, if she overplays that, it could all boomerang, and a lot of those people who are leaning one to Obama could go back to Trump where they were in August and September. Meanwhile, one of the big debates is moral debate, political debate, is what to do with the WikiLeaks missives. Almost nobody had said, except maybe out of two email, out of the tens of thousands, that they've been inaccurate or manipulated. So if they're the facts and they bring you behind the scenes, what do? So when Hillary Clinton's camp is asked over and over again about the specifics inside, they talk generally about how the Russians are trying to play a role in the election. Chris Wallace was ready for that when he talked to Rob Mook.
These are stolen documents, stolen by the Russians. It's now confirmed from John Podesta. They are being put out for exactly this purpose.
Well,
the Russians and Donald
Trump
want this campaign to be about something else right now.
Well, let me just speak to that, though, because, the Trump tax returns were stolen as well when they were mailed to the New York Times. You guys didn't object to that. In fact, you jumped all over them.
Well, we don't know where those tax returns come from.
Well, they were clearly stolen.
We don't know, and you'd have to work with the New York Times on that.
Had given them?
I don't know. I don't know how they got to the New York Times.
I guess what I'm saying is if we're looking at the fruits of that theft, and I will call it a theft, it's fair to look at the fruits of your theft.
I think what's particularly disturbing in this situation is that the intelligence community has now confirmed that John Podesta's emails and the DNC emails were stolen by the Russians.
I know about the Russian connection. I'm talking about the $12 million from the King of Morocco and the fact that this continues to sort of show the line between private and public and Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation.
Again, this is the discussion the Russians want us to be having. They stole this information. They're selectively leaking. I can't even verify any of the information that you have there. We simply don't have enough time as a campaign to
I promise you,
sort through all these documents.
If these were not true, you'd tell us.
A great point, Chris Wallace. Look, obviously the leaks were true when I think it was DC Leaks announced the stuff between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and how she eventually wound up losing her job over bad stuff.
Otherwise, you guys would be the first to say they're not true. This is what makes Chris Wallace one of the best journalists in the business, because he knew going into this interview that this was likely going to be the exact talking point coming from Hillary Clinton's campaign. He was so quick to jump on the hypocrisy of all this and the politics and how calculated her campaign is. The reason I think these WikiLeaks are troubling, that the the $12 million, for example, that he mentioned there. This is not like we're talking about controversies in their personal life. This is how they're going to be when they are in the White House. This is pay for play. This is abusing the system. It's exactly what this cycle was not about. If you remember early on in the stages of the primaries, people wanted an outsider candidate, someone that was opposite of what we're seeing now.
I will build on that. Donald Trump's the biggest critic for Donald Trump. He's too transparent. Everything is on his mind. He tweets. Sure. And they go, wow, what's he doing? With Hillary Clinton, everything is calculated, so you have to lift open the covers to find out what the truth is.
Yeah, have a
and when
choice.
you find out what the truth is, they go, oh, it's the Russians.
That's their answer.
So that's the problem. That's why we're going to go slamming into it's
always
the
Russians' fault.
We're going to find the Russians.
You know,
Mitt Romney was right. It's always the Russians.
That's true. He was onto something there. All right, let's toss over to Heather for some headlines. Heather, good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you, Abby. Guys, I missed you since Las Vegas. Haven't seen you.
What's going on?
Welcome back.
All off to a great day. I do have some terrifying news to bring you. This coming out of Oklahoma today, where there is an intense manhunt right now for a suspect who shot 2 police officers with an AK-47. Investigators also finding 2 people believed to be the suspect's relatives dead in a nearby home. The officers were responding to a call of shots fired, this happening near Oklahoma City, when police say that Michael Vance started shooting, hitting both of them. Vance and a second suspect then took off in a police car. They drove to a trailer park where they carjacked and shot another woman. That second suspect is now in custody. Both officers and that woman expected to be okay. Well, today the NTSB is set to arrive at the scene of that horrific bus crash that killed 13 people and injured more than 30 others. A casino tour bus smashing into the back of a big rig, this near Palm Springs, California, and it left such a mangled mess there. The sheer force sent that bus 15 feet inside the tractor trailer. Police say the bus was speeding and that the driver may have had some sort of medical episode. Authorities are currently searching for a data recorder and working to identify those victims. We are praying for those families out there in California today. Well, President Obama turning his focus from Hillary Clinton to the races in the U.S. Senate. The president looking to give 150 down-ballot endorsements while slamming Republicans in Las Vegas. Listen here.
Now the excuse they're using for why they should be elected is, well, maybe we did support Trump and now we're being kind of quiet about it, but you should vote Republican anyway because we'll check Hillary's power. They've been in charge of Congress now for the last 6 years, basically. And what have they gotten done?
And look for that to be the message this week. Democrats need 4 seats to take back the majority. And those are your headlines. 15 days until the election.
Yep. And wasn't it revealed over the weekend that Barack Obama, then a senator, was talking about how the system was rigged back in 2008?
Isn't that interesting?
And now
a little ironic.
How can you say that?
Oh, and Barbara Boxer said, I'm not going to accept the outcome in Ohio because John Kerry lost in Ohio.
Right.
So she's going to protest
Oh, you don't think if Hillary Clinton loses this one, she's not going to say, this was a rigged system?
I think for sure.
I think it's something people say when they're running for stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, straight ahead on this Monday, you just heard President Obama talk about the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Up next, we've got the key races you need to watch, like who will replace Harry Reid in Nevada.
And it's the presidential debate you did not see. The brand new lip reading gone viral this morning.
Until one horrible day, there's cricket meat in the gravy. Yes, there was.
Welcome back. Well, the race to the White House may be dominating the election headlines, but it's not the only position that's up for grabs this November. There are some major races for Senate seats in the swing states, including the one replacing outgoing Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid. Here to take a look at some of the big races ahead is Director of Polling at the Cato Institute, Emily Ekins. Emily, good morning. Thanks for being here so early.
Good morning.
So some really important races that are really close. Let's start with the important state of Florida and Marco Rubio going up against Patrick Murphy. He's in the lead there, but still a little close for comfort.
So the Florida race is actually kind of an exception. We're seeing that Marco Rubio's polling numbers haven't been that affected by Donald Trump's, and he has a pretty good, pretty comfortable lead, and most predictive models expect that Rubio's going to win Florida.
What about New Hampshire? Because I've been following this race pretty closely. Kelly Ayotte against Maggie Hassan. She's down there.
Yes, so New Hampshire is very different. We're seeing that Donald Trump's falling polling numbers at the national level is really affecting some of these down ballot races, particularly New Hampshire. So like you showed there, Ayotte's behind by about 2 points, but just a few weeks ago she was ahead. So what happened there? Part of it is that after the lewd tape surfaced in which Donald Trump was bragging about denigrating and groping women without their consent, Ayotte came out and publicly withdrew her support for Donald Trump. And ever since then, her polling numbers have been plummeting.
That is interesting. Also in the state of Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey really neck and neck with Katie McGinty.
Yes, we're actually seeing something different happen in Pennsylvania. Toomey's polling numbers are not that correlated with Donald Trump's. And part of the reason why is that Toomey's taken a very different approach. He's the only Republican senator running for re-election that has not publicly said whether he will or will not support Donald Trump for president. And he's come under criticism for doing this. But political science would tell you that this is actually a really smart move. It's actually far better to take an ambiguous stance than to take a firm stance and backtrack. And that's what we saw in New Hampshire, and that's what we're seeing happen in Nevada.
Very interesting. All right, so the state of Nevada for Harry Reid's seat. If this goes to the Republican Joe Heck, I mean, that is a huge upset for Democrats.
Yes, we're seeing something very similar happen in Nevada that we're seeing in New Hampshire, where Joe Heck was ahead just a few weeks ago. Now he's behind by 2 points against his Democratic challenger. And we're seeing something very similar happen in which he endorsed Donald Trump and then publicly withdrew that support after those lewd tapes surfaced. And he also seems to be punished. He's being punished at the polls.
Yeah, this could have huge implications come Election Day. Emily, thanks for being with us this morning. Really important stuff.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, fake accents, hot sauce in her purse, and yo mama jokes. Has Hillary Clinton finally taken her pandering too far? A fair and balanced debate is next. Plus, Eli Manning calls an audible.
Hey, Trump! He coming inside on you, ball.
It's the Trump play. Build a wall.
All right, some quick headlines now. Dramatic new video shows the moment a small plane crashes and bursts into a fireball. The shocking scene captured on a dash cam in Malta. It was a pain in the ass getting a cameraman there, but it was worth it. 5 members of the French military were killed in the small plane crash. No word yet on the cause. And a manhunt intensifying after a ride-along explodes into gunfire and a car crash. Shots fired! You can see the sparks from the bullets as a California officer and a civilian on a ride-along dodged them. Neither were hit, but the passenger did get cut with glass. And a bullet hole now piercing the patrol car's front windshield, as you see, and the back windshield completely shattered. They'll remember that.
"15 days until the election, and Hillary Clinton, no stranger to pandering, apparently, to African-American voters. She even admitted that earlier this year, kind of.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? Hot sauce. Hot sauce in my bag, Swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay. Is it working?
Okay, so is it working? So is her pandering going too far, and is it pandering? Here to debate, we've got Democratic strategist Brian Benjamin and Vice Chair of the National Diversity Coalition for Donald Trump, Brunel Donald Shea. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. God bless you and God bless America.
Indeed. Brunel, let's start with you. What do you think about this? Was the pandering working?
No, the pandering is not working. You know, honestly, black people just want a real seat at the table. We want our inner city youth to have jobs, investment, vocational programs, better schools. That's the kind of pandering that should be showing up. That last 8 years of how she and Barack Obama made a record of helping inner city youth, school choice, improvement in our communities, investing in our small businesses. That's the kind of record we want to see. We have no desire to know what she's carrying in her purse.
Right. Brian, a lot surmise that the reason she said she had hot sauce in her purse was because that's part of a Beyonce lyric.
Right.
And, you know, she was called out by the host. Is it working?
Well, first of all, she does carry hot sauce. I mean, I actually was on a Good Morning America show with her where she spoke at length with someone who is also a hot sauce specialist. I didn't even know it for about 5-7 minutes, and she was talking about all these different hot sauces.
Okay.
And so, I mean, when she made the comment, oh, is it working, that was a joke. But she actually does carry hot sauce. But on the more important point, I think that some good points are just raised. I think that both her and Donald Trump need to speak more about issues affecting our community. I think Donald Trump panders more than anyone else. He goes to African-American churches, claps off beat. He's trying to call it, you know, the African-American, the Latino. I mean, he is doing as much pandering as anyone else. So I think we should be fair on that point.
Well, Brian, how about this right here? How about, okay, so you say she carries hot sauce in her purse.
She does. That's what she says.
Here's an email from Amanda Renteria, who's inside her camp.
Yep.
Is everyone comfortable with Hillary saying, yo mama?
Right.
All right. Are you comfortable with that, Brian?
I'm not comfortable with Trump saying hombres either, right? I'm not comfortable with it, but she didn't say it. The most important point is she didn't say it, whereas Trump says all of these, you know, sort of pandering-like comments, and actually some of them are racist and derogatory. So, you know, I think Hillary doesn't say these things that she shouldn't say, whereas Trump does, and so I think that's an important point.
Okay, so Brunel, what do you think about the inside the Clinton camp where they're talking about whether or not she should use the expression yo mama?
You know what? I think that, you know, black people are tired of the token black people they're using to try to get our vote. Black people are tired of getting crumbs under the table every 4 years. There are these promises. You've got the president, Joe Biden, the first lady, all of these people coming out with these Oscar-winning performances about what they're going to do in the black community, and then 4 years go by, they do nothing. We want jobs. We want better schools. We want improvement in our communities. We want investment in our communities. We don't want hot sauce. We don't want your mama jokes. We want black empowerment.
Right,
that's what we want. And we want the White House dollars, to follow. That's what we want. The Democratic Party to keep their promises.
Brunel, hold on. This is a candidate who talks about law and order and completely ignores the fact that there are some systemic issues going on in our communities between the police and
Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were a big part of that with that violence bill in 1994. You know that. Mass incarceration happened under Bill Clinton, and his wife was okay with that.
Well,
so don't go there. They're trying to fix a problem that they started. Let Donald Trump fix it. Let a person who's a builder and a doer fix it.
Second wrap up.
Thank you.
I mean, I think this is ridiculous. I think Trump is one of the most, he's made some of the most racist comments across the board. I don't think Brunel could deny that. And
not a loser and Taco Bowl and needy Latinos. Really?
All right.
Are we going there?
I got a feeling.
Catholics are bastardized. Are we going there?
Yeah, let's go there.
I went there. WikiLeaks put it all in the street, sir.
I'm not going anywhere.
I read WikiLeaks.
Brian Benjamin.
I read about the corruption.
Brunel, please give me a break.
All right, Brunel.
Let's talk about those accusers, Brunel. How about that?
Tell Hillary to give you a break. Tell her to give our people a break.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Tell her to give black people